sort of practical politician that we've ever had in my memory.
You're like the only person that thinks that. About
Oh, no. If you look at the issues,
that he's the most common sense
Oh,
person.
yeah, absolutely. You look at the border. You look at all of those issues. You look at the issue of abortion that has gotten him into trouble.
Okay.
All of those things.
He said, it's up to the states. I did this. There are
American
6-week abortion bans, even in his own state.
But remember,
he's not in trouble with Democrats. He's in trouble with evangelical Republicans, but he's still standing for a more practical stance.
There are also states, as our democracies, our laboratory of democracies, there are also states that go through the due
and
date.
J.D. Vance doesn't want you to even be able to go to another
I don't understand why sending abortion back to the states is somehow worse than having the Supreme Court or Roe v. Wade.
Jessica Tarlov's heated on-air clash. Reality check or political theater? ***. Democratic commentator Jessica Tarlov recently had a heated on-air debate over Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and the state of the Democratic Party. The discussion, featuring Greg Gutfeld and other panelists, escalated into a fiery exchange on crime, border security, and media bias. But was this a brutal reality check for Tarlov, or just another case of political theatrics? Stick around as we break down what happened, why she walked off, and what it all means. Political discourse or media drama? ***. Tarlov's reaction during the debate highlights the growing intensity of political discourse, especially on platforms like Fox News, where ideological clashes are part of the appeal. Whether her frustration was genuine or played up for dramatic effect, it reflects the challenges Democratic voices face on conservative networks. Some see her reaction as a sign of weakness, while others view it as an understandable response to aggressive pushback. Was this an organic moment of exasperation or a calculated move to grab headlines? Regardless, moments like these fuel the ongoing culture war, keeping audiences engaged and further deepening political divides.
Were you surprised at all that this coalesced together as quickly as possible around the vice president? Do you think it would have been beneficial? As Congressman Clyburn had said, let's let them fight it out. He was supporting her, but he said it's actually good for testing her and everybody else who might be her number two through this process.
I certainly think it would have made great programming and that people would have liked to have seen it. But the truth of the matter is we don't have much time. And this was Joe Biden's decision. And the delegates, a lot of them have spoken out about this. They voted for, or they're representing Joe Biden's wishes. And he is part of the Biden-Harris administration. And in that sense, it makes sense that this was her nomination. So we have 3.5 weeks until the DNC. We have 102 days until the election. I'm fine with this. She represents a lot of where the parties, and not the Kamala Harris of 2020, but the Kamala Harris of today. And that is the maneuver that she's going to have to make. And I think that she has a lot to say.
The Democratic Party's internal struggles, ***. The debate over Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's decision to step aside underscores internal tensions within the Democratic Party. Speculation that Biden was pressured to withdraw raises concerns about party dynamics shaping the 2024 race. While there's no definitive proof of coercion, political maneuvering is always at play in high-stakes elections. As Biden's vice president, Harris was the natural choice for continuity, but whether she's the best candidate to unite the party and sway undecided voters is another question. Critics point to her approval ratings and past record as challenges, while supporters argue she has grown into a stronger leader. As the election nears, Harris must effectively address past criticisms and prove she is the right person for the job. Crime, policing, and public perception ***. Crime and policing remain central issues in national politics, with both parties using them as key talking points. While the Biden administration has invested heavily in law enforcement initiatives, conservatives argue crime remains a serious issue, particularly in major cities. The reality is more complex. Crime trends are influenced by economic conditions, local policies, and broader societal factors beyond federal control. However, political opponents capitalize on public perception, highlighting high-profile crimes to paint a picture of widespread lawlessness. The real question is whether the administration's approach is genuinely improving public safety or merely shifting resources without meaningful results.
I mean, if you watch the whole video, for instance, when she was talking about defunding the police, the point she was making is really salient. She was talking about what a safe neighborhood looks like, and it's not crawling with cops, right? It has great schools. It has thriving small businesses. It has really high home ownership, which has been a priority of the Biden-Harris administration to make sure that people can get on the property ladder. Administration did it. The most delicious flavor of it at all. They have invested more in law enforcement than any other administration in history. Donald Trump actually proposed a 58% cut to the community policing program. They put 3,700 police officers on the street through that program. Another 100,000 that came in through the Safer America plan. The American Rescue Plan had $15 billion in it for crime and policing to make sure that we have safer communities. It's a strong record to run on. The border right now, we were talking about this. Jennifer Griffin was tweeting about the two Sinaloa cartel bosses that were apprehended. She said that it was like catching bin Laden when it comes to the war against fentanyl. That happened under the Biden-Harris administration.
Border security, a political standoff, ***. Border security remains one of the most politically charged topics in the U.S., with both parties struggling to find long-term solutions. While the Biden administration has reinstated some Trump-era immigration policies, conservatives argue these moves are performative attempts to appeal to moderates. However, framing every policy as a political strategy ignores the reality that governing requires pragmatic adjustments. The border crisis is driven by economic instability in Central and South America, global migration trends, and flaws in the U.S. immigration system, problems neither party has fully addressed. Instead of partisan blame games, a real solution would require bipartisan cooperation and structural reforms, an unlikely scenario in today's divided political climate. Media manipulation and public trust, ***. Accusations of media manipulation have become routine in modern politics, with both sides claiming the mainstream media distorts reality to fit their agendas. While media bias is undeniable, dismissing all reporting as dishonest undermines public trust in journalism. The challenge lies in distinguishing between factual reporting and opinion-driven narratives designed to provoke outrage or reinforce ideological beliefs. Social media has further complicated this landscape, allowing individuals to act as their own fact-checkers while also enabling the rapid spread of misinformation. As media narratives shape public discourse, their actual impact on voter decisions remains a topic of debate. With traditional outlets losing influence and independent platforms rising, voters must critically evaluate information, challenge their own biases, and separate fact from manipulation.
Encounters at the border are down 55% since the executive order.
These are all things out of hitting numbers that had wildly spiked after the Trump administration, not back down to those numbers.
I understand that, and you obviously have to acknowledge that there were huge spikes, but it doesn't mean that she's the same person that you saw in 2020. She oversaw the implementation of the policies that have led to all of these good.
Kamala Harris, a political shift? Kamala Harris's political stance has been a topic of intense scrutiny. Critics label her one of the most liberal politicians, citing her past support for progressive policies on healthcare, criminal justice reform, and climate change. However, as vice president, she has taken a more moderate approach, aligning with the broader Democratic agenda rather than championing far-left policies. While calling her an extreme liberal is an effective political tactic for opponents, it oversimplifies the shifts in her positioning. As she steps into the spotlight as the likely Democratic nominee, her challenge will be balancing progressive expectations while appealing to moderates and independents, especially in swing states. Censorship and election interference, a contentious debate, ***. The debate over censorship and election interference has intensified, with both sides accusing tech giants of bias. Conservatives claim platforms like Google, Facebook, and Twitter suppress right-leaning content, while liberals argue stronger regulations are needed to prevent misinformation. In reality, tech companies face pressure from political and financial interests, making content moderation policies highly controversial. While concerns over censorship are valid, sweeping claims of election interference should be backed by evidence. As social media continues to dominate political communication, the real question is how these platforms balance free speech with their responsibility to prevent misinformation without becoming the ultimate arbiters of truth. As the 2024 election approaches, the battle for public perception will be just as important as policy debates. Voters must move beyond media narratives, critically evaluate information, and question both their sources and their own biases.